preparing to live stream the meeting. Setting up the meeting for YouTube Live and done redirecting to YouTube. Hey, everybody, you are watching and listening to the We Are Rizin podcast. This is your host, Andrew Benjamin, joined once again by my very handsome and debonair co-host, Jay Christian Gary from Focus Fights.
What's good, y'all? And we're here to talk about some Kings of Colosseum video game and action with the one and only the JMFactor Joseph Matos.
Hey guys, what's going on?
Hey Joseph. So it's been a while since we had you on. I think though, I know we last talked. I think it was for Fire Pro Wrestling Worlds last year during the pandemic.
Yeah, and one of the Rizin shows from I think May.
Oh wow, we did. Okay, yes. So it's been a while since we've actually had you on the show to talk anything. Been meaning to get you back on for just like anything because we value your Rizin fandom and knowledge, and also your video game stuff. So hopefully, before we get into King Colosseum, what do you think about Rizin's return in 2021 so far? Have you been enjoying it?
Yeah, I've actually been enjoying it. I mean, I actually did see the two shows that happened last month. Kind of crazy how what happened with the main event.
Yeah, well, we went into that whole thing during that show. Listen, it was just interesting to see it all like happen in real time. Well, it also, if you talk about like interesting, not being able to see the main event,
WCW Halloween Havoc.
Exactly.
DDP Goldberg. We had our DDP Goldberg moment.
Oh God, I hope this is why I always say go back and fight or just use Rizin Live.
But then again, it was just like, but that only happened in one match. It only happened once. It probably will not happen again. And it was probably like an error, a technical difficulty.
You say that once, then listen, you can never trust some of these things. Listen, I've never had any issues with Fight or Rizin Live. Cutting off your entire main event. Ooh, that was not a.
Well, Live Now did do that. Well, Live Now did do that with the past paper shows.
Well, that's the thing, because they split them up, and so I think it was kind of expected that those would go long. So that's why they had like part 1, part 2, part 3. They should have just done that for all the shows. Just split them up into every 3 hours or whatever it is.
I mean, either that or they probably should have done better, like doing. I mean, it's like you said, they could have done better doing 3 parts, or in the case of the sessions, they could have had 1 part labeled for at least 2 or 3 hours, the other part labeled for potentially 3 or more.
Or there's one other person. There's one person there's one organization we could blame.
Go ahead and say it, Joseph.
That damn one championship.
Exactly.
One championship did a run in.
Yes. Blame Chatri. Blame
that damn Chatri. He paid off Live Now to cut off the main event. Only we get to do kickboxing.
Well,
but blame that damn one championship.
Speaking of run-ins, we gotta talk about this. Would you call it a hybrid video game, Joseph, of MMA and pro wrestling, or is it kind of just more pro wrestling? Came
There actually no, because like there are a few MMA fighters who that are in like part 1 and 2 that actually did both. Like, like for example, like Don Fry, Fujita, and them.
So yeah, let's start off talking about Kings of Colosseum 2. Now, I want to ask you first. I think the obvious question is why KOC 2? Why not an in-depth discussion of KOC 1? Is there something about KOC 2? Is it just a better game? Is there just more to it? Is it kind of just? Is it like a Mass Effect versus Mass Effect 2 type thing where, lots of people seem to prefer Mass Effect 2 over Mass Effect 1? You just tell us why KOC 2 is more important to you, or seemingly more important to you.
KOC 2, I feel, is like the more complete game. Like there's a lot more secrets. There's a lot more content to unlock. I've actually had some crazy stuff happen in streams and sims. Like I've had one dude go for a double leg takedown, like for one of the MMA clutches, and he eats a knee right to the face. And that's like super rare for that to happen because that's like style specific.
Okay, okay. So tell us a little bit about what's before we get into KOC 2, let's talk about KOC 1. What is the history about that game?
Well,
And
the
people.
fascinating thing about KOC 1, let me ask this. You ever played Pokemon like red and blue back in the
I'll
day?
I'll be honest, I'm not really a Pokemon guy. I played Pokemon Go and I played one of them for Game Boy. I can't remember which one. I just never got into Pokemon, but I am familiar with Red and Blue, Silver and Gold. Like,
Okay, so how they did KOC 1 is they made two games out of it, red and green. So green is 0-1 in Pro Wrestling Noah. Red is New Japan and Pancrase.
okay.
So what they did was if you had both games and you had both save files, you could actually combine the rosters. If you had both games, you could actually combine them into one.
Okay. That's interesting. Oh, so you and this was for PlayStation 2, right?
Yes, this was for PlayStation 2.
Okay. So if you got KOC green and KOC red, you could then okay, so you'd have to so would you could you could import the saves to either of the games is what you're saying.
Yeah, and you could but you would need green also.
Okay, so okay. So would you have to have both memory cards loaded into the PS2 and then you go into the PlayStation what is it, home menu?
I think you just need to have one of the save files in the same memory card. I don't think you needed two.
Okay.
But yeah,
Okay.
it is a little bit it is a bit confusing though. I'm kind of glad that 2 didn't do that.
Gotcha.
Though what I like, but the one thing I do like about 1 is you would not believe the who's who that's in KOC 1.
Well, I did not look at a lot of footage for that before our talk, but I did see the cover, and there is like the cover is just littered with wrestlers all over it.
Yeah. Well, you would not believe the foreigners that are in 1.
So tell us about who are some of the foreigners in it.
All right. Luckily, I have a roster thing. I don't need the game booted up. For example, let me go to Pro Wrestling Noah first. So in terms of foreigners, if you wanted to play as
Let us know when did the game come out, just so that people know, like, you know, what era of like Noah, New Japan, All Japan. This is like
okay. All right. So for King of Colosseum 2, it came out in 2004. KOC Red came out in, I believe, 02, around 01, 02, and Green came out in 2003.
okay, gotcha.
So this would be like New Japan, Noah, 01, and them all in the early from 02 to 04.
Okay, so this was kind of like just so I can remember, this is kind of like when New Japan was kind of in its downswing. Noah was like all the way up here, just selling out Budokan all the time, and All Japan was still high. But this is when like this was not the New Japan that we have now. That's, you know, the Bushi Road era. New Japan was just like
Yeah.
it was kind of
It would be like New Japan, like slowly. It's like it's not happening immediately. It's very slowly.
So okay, gotcha. Okay, so go ahead, tell us about the roster of KOC 1.
Okay, so for KOC 1, and a lot of these guys will carry over into KOC 2, so I would have to repeat them.
Okay.
All right, so for Pro Wrestling Noah, for Green, we had, you know, Misawa, Taue, Yoshinari Ogawa, Takeshi Rikio, Morishima, Tomo Honda, Jun Izumida, his heel persona, Izu, Masao Inoue, Takumo Sano, Daisuke Ikeda, Takashi Sugiura, Muhammad Yone, Kishin Kawabata, Naomichi Marufuji, Kotaro Suzuki, Rusher Kimura, Haruka Aigen, Mimitsu Momoda, Masashi Aoyagi, Vader, Scorpio, and this will be the only games where you can actually play as Michael Modest and Donovan Morgan as available characters.
Wait a minute, Michael Modest. Wasn't this guy? Didn't he wrestle for WWE at one point? I feel like I recognize that name.
Actually, he was a WWE enhancement talent, but
he was a job guy, and I think he was also at ROH.
That's what I thought.
And when it came down to Michael Modest, he also wrestled, you know, as enhancement talent in WCW and ECW as well, right, Joseph?
I believe so, but my knowledge of his, but I do know he was an ROH
guy. Of course.
Yes, you know, Richard Slinger, who was with All Japan since the 90s, Too Cold Scorpio, Vader. So then we go to Burning, which is, because remember, there are sub-factions in Noah. So Burning, Kobashi, Kentaro Shiga, Tsuyoshi Kikuchi, and Kenta. This would be Kenta's very first game, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
In 3D game. I'm not counting, not Fire Pro. Yeah, so we're talking about in 3D. Sternist, Jun Akiyama, Akitoshi Saito, Yoshinobu Kanemaru, and Makoto Hashi. For No Fear, it's Takawa Mori and Sotaro Asako. For 01, this would be the video game, the 3D, Puro debut of Steve Carino.
Hmm.
The king of old school.
Yeah, not counting the ECW games. We don't talk about them.
And then, by the way, this is also when 01 was a legit, like, actual competitive promotion, not just something that just
Not
popped up.
not an indie.
I think it's lower than indie now. Like it pops up so infrequently as a promotion. I don't even think like any of their shows make tape anymore, other than the Fire Festival.
What are you trying to say, Andrew? That it's an outlaw mud show bullshit promotion?
Well, the fact is, I can't find their shows ever yet. I can find TJW.
They're so tiny. It's insignificant. It's an insignificant speck of dust.
Exactly. Yeah. But go on. Okay.
All right. So 01, we have Shinya Hashimoto, Tatsuhito Takaiwa, Naohiro Hoshikawa, Kohei Sato, Ryuji Sai, Fugo Yumeji, Yoshihiro Sasaki, Shinsuke Z Yamagasa, Fuyuki Takahashi. The 3D video game debuts of Tom Howard, the Predator Sylvester Terkay, C.W. Anderson, Samoa Joe's very first 3D video game, and Steve Carino.
And KGB, he must have been really popular at the time because he was also doing MMA.
Yeah, I believe so.
That being KGB, meaning Tom Howard, of course.
Yeah. Fire Emblem, which was another faction, Shinjiro Otani, Masato Tanaka, Kuroge Wagyuta, UFO. You want to know what's funny? UFO is so irrelevant. The only UFO representative is Naoya Ogawa.
Wow.
Brazilian Top Team. That's right. Brazilian Top Team was in this. The only people representing Brazilian Top Team are Antonio Rodrigo Nogueira and Mario Sperry.
The wild man Mario Sperry.
Yep.
But the fact that they even got Big Nog in that game was even crazier because of what he was doing in Pride FC at the time.
Yeah. This KFC one didn't really have like a Pride template. They did have the ring though. Pride in Fire Pro and in KOC is Blade. So whenever you see a Blade ring in a Fire Pro game or in KOC 1 and 2, that is Pride. Freelance, Yoshihiro Takayama and Kazuyuki Fujita. And Legend is Jumbo Tsuruta. Now,
hey, I'm actually surprised. So Takayama was not with Noah at this time? He was
a freelancer at this point.
Okay, gotcha. Okay.
But he was still
because he was doing stuff with with New Japan, All Japan, and Noah.
Gotcha.
So basically, and I hate to interrupt, even though it's kind of my thing, but basically when Yoshihiro Takayama became the only man to win all 3 of Japan's major heavyweight titles, he was doing that as a freelancer?
Yes, I believe he was a freelancer at that point.
Holy shit. That's crazy.
And I think also I think Muto just recently made that I think he made that that rare pantheon of people. Him and Sasaki, I think, are the only 3.
Him, Kensuke Sasaki.
They're the only ones. Now, for KOC Red, now for KOC Red, now we're at New Japan. And they're actually a who's who of a few foreigners here, a few of them who might be a little bit familiar to you on this side. All right, so here we go. Tatsumi Fujinami, Kensuke Sasaki, the Power Warrior, Yuji Nagata, Manabu Nakanishi, Shiroko Shinaka, Takashi Iizuka, Yutaka Yoshie, Osamu Nishimura, Junji Harada, Kengo Kimura, Super Strong Machine, Shinya Makabe, Kenzo Suzuki. The only time Kenzo Suzuki is in the active roster. He's not an active. He's a template in 2. Hiroshi Tanahashi, Blue Wolf, Super J, NWO Sting for some of you guys.
Jeff Farmer.
Yeah. This is what he's no longer doing NWO Sting. He's Super J. Dan Devine, a former WCW power plant guy. Kazuo Yamazaki, Osamu Kido, Seiji Sakaguchi, Masa Saito, Kuniaki Kobayashi, and Black Cat. Then for the juniors, Jushin Thunder Liger, El Samurai, Minoru Tanaka, Masayuki Naruse, Masahito Kakihara, Wataru Inoue, Katsuyori Shibata, Katsushi Takamura, the second 3D wrestling game that Dr. Wagner Jr. is in.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, his first 3D video game debut was Tokon Retsunen 4 for the Dreamcast.
Oh, okay.
And Norio Honaga. Then for Team 2000, you got Masahiro Chono, Hiroyoshi Tenzan, Hiro Saito, Tatsutoshi Goto, Scott Norton, and the 3D debuts of two men. One of them fought in Pride. Giant Silva from the Oddities, and Giant Singh, a very young Great Khali when he was still mobile.
Yeah, but he was still mobile and trying to do moves that people half his size did.
The man leapfrogged into the ring. Look up his match with Chris Candido on World.
Oh, God. Do we really need to see that shit?
Yeah. Then for Team 2000, for the junior side of Team 2000, you had Koji Kanemoto, Akira, Jado, Gato, Black Tiger 3, Silva King, and Gokudo. Now, you want to know who Gokudo is? This is actually fascinating. Gokudo is Pat Tanaka from the Orient Express.
Oh, Lord. Why? Just why?
All right, now we go to All Japan in 2002. We got Giant Baba. Now, remember, this is after the Noah Exodus. Sometime after the Noah Exodus. Giant Baba was a secret character. Keiji Muto, Great Muta, Kokoshi Muso, his other persona, Toshiaki Kawada, Satoshi Kojima, his other persona, the Great Koji, Taiyo Kea, Hiroshi Hase, Mitsuya Nagai, Hideki Hosaka, Shigeo Okamura, Honma, Tomoaki Honma, Kazushi Miyamoto, former of Rizin fame, Stan Hansen, Dr. Dev Steve Williams, Johnny Smith, Mike Barton, Abdullah the Butcher, George Hines, Mike Rotundo
as
IRS. Yes, you didn't pay your taxes. Jim Steele and Kabbalah too.
Repeat those last two names again.
Jim Steele, Mike Rotundo, Jim Steele, who was Wolf Hawkfield in All Japan, and Kabbalah too.
So apparently we didn't get to pay our taxes, so we ended up getting IRS in a Japanese video game.
Well, him and Steve Williams were the Varsity Club.
Oh.
They brought that gimmick to All Japan. For the juniors for All Japan, we had Masanobu Fuchi, Kendo Kashin, Tokumitsu Ishisawa, Kaz Hayashi, and the 3D video game debut of Jimmy Yang.
As in, Jimmy Wang Yang,
Jimmy Yang from the Young Dragons.
Wow.
Yes, the 3D debut of Jimmy Yang. For, War was also in here too. Genichiro Tenru, Arashi, Nobutaka Araya, Nobukaza Hirai. For Pancrase, this is the 3D video game debut of Pancrase, 3D wise, not 2D, not during the Nintendo era. We're talking about 3D here. For Pancrase, we had Masakatsu Funaki, Yuki Kondo, Yoshiki Takahashi, Minoru Suzuki, Hyuma Kunioku. I apologize if I'm mispronouncing some names here. Osami Shibuya, Ikuhisa Minoa Man, Kengo, Kei Yamamiya for Pancrase Gabranca, Senai Kikuta, the 3D debut, way before UFC Undisputed 3, the debut of Akihiro Gono.
Wow.
Yuki Sasaki, U-File Camp, the only person in U-File Camp, Kiyoshi Tamura. And then to expand on freelance, you had Riki Choshu, Tadao Yasuda. He was not with New Japan around this time. Michiyoshi Ohara, and Don Fry. That is the entire roster of Red and Green.
Wow.
And so I'm curious to know, did they have the permission or did they get the likenesses?
This was licensed.
Okay, because I'm with a roster like that. I would assume that they either didn't get the license or they would make. I don't know. It's like
No,
you
if they
just
did
don't.
have the license, there would have been a lot of fake names.
Oh, like what was it that Fire Pro is done, right?
Yeah, like Hoist Gracie would have been like Hoist Stacy.
Now here's the interesting thing. So red came out before green. Did not,
Yes.
and like literally, like it was like almost like 6 months. December was red, March was green. I'm surprised that like they didn't release them like very close to the same time. It was almost like they made one game and then they made the other one
Maybe they
like
felt the roster might not have fit on one disc.
that's interesting. I'm surprised that they didn't do like a 2 disc thing because it wasn't unheard of to do 2 disc games still at the time.
It might have been maybe like the roster might have been way too big at the time, and
Mhm,
maybe importing the save and combining both would have been like a better solution.
mhm. I guess the other big question is, so do you know why this franchise has never made it to the United States, Joseph?
Well, a lot of promotions would not have been familiar to U.S. people at the time, and also probably licensing. There
Because we
might have
got
been there might have been like some maybe like licensing. Maybe nobody didn't want to pay the fee to pay for the likeness of every wrestler here in this roster.
because we got Fire Pro. I think didn't one of the Ukes games as well come to United States? I think when they were
No,
doing.
Wrestle Kingdom 1 and 2 never got U.S. releases.
Okay, but Fire Pro still came over here. Fire Pro was able to come over here.
Well, yeah. Well, remember that not many Fire Pro games came out in the U.S. The only ones that came out were the ones on the GBA and Fire Pro Wrestling Returns.
Well, didn't one the PS2 ones as well, right?
Well, no. The only PS2 one we got was Returns. We didn't get Z.
Okay,
Z was pretty much the precursor to Returns.
gotcha.
For some reason, not many people talk about Z for some reason, even though Z had a story mode in it.
Gotcha. And so King of Colosseum 2. How does Red and Green? How does this all lead to Colosseum 2? Which comes out in September 9th, 2004 in Japan for PS2. Did they bring
Yeah.
the roster for that? How does that compare to Green and Red?
Well, some people who I mentioned are not into. Some would either be templates or they're not there at all.
Was that because they either just like retired from wrestling,
Either
or
some retired, some retired, or some left back to the States.
I see.
Because maybe like some new young boys came in.
Mm-hmm. Do you know if they did mocap for either game?
Either they did mocap or or maybe drawn. But if it's 3D, I'm gonna assume some of it was mocapped.
Okay. Or I should let me just rephrase that question. Did they, if you happen to know if they did if they had like the wrestlers come in to do like
Well, to be honest, Andrew, I wouldn't know that because there isn't really a making of KOC2 out there. Like maybe so that could be anybody's guess.
Gotcha. And so do you prefer KOC2 over KOC1?
Me, I kind of like both because both have mainly because there are roster differences. Like the grappling system is pretty much the same. Powerball system, the clutch system are both there. One did have an RPG like campaign for all the promotions.
Gotcha. And what are some of the modes in KOC2 that you can talk about?
Well, let's see. For KOC2, for one, we have this is going to be the mode where you're unlocking everything, and that is Survival Road. Survival Road, you choose, and also there are some survival roads you actually have to unlock as well. So you choose a promotion. You can pick anybody you want. Hell, you can even sim. You can actually sim these matches too, which is actually the crazy thing. You can actually sim in Survival Road if you don't want to play it yourself. You choose your difficulty, and you go through a gauntlet. You go through a gauntlet of different opponents. You got to go through difficulties, through like all the difficulties, and then you get points that you can spend in the secret shop. And in the secret shop, you can buy alternate outfits for wrestlers, like alternate personas for some. You could buy edit. You could actually buy more edit points. You can actually unlock other rings because believe it or not, there actually are other rings you could get.
So I don't know if you could see. I'm sharing one of the matches that you created that you simmed.
Oh
Ernesto
yeah,
Hoos
this
versus Bob
legendary
Sapp.
battle that I simmed. Ernesto Hoos versus Bob Sapp. Believe it or not, this was an actual wrestling match that did happen. I remember reading a thing online where it's like Ernesto Hoos disgracing himself by competing in this wrestling match.
But the thing about it, though, and spoiler alert to those who haven't watched the wrestling match between these two after the two kickboxing matches they had, Ernesto surprisingly won.
Oh, he did?
Yes, he did.
Yeah, it's hard for me to find footage. I actually wanted to watch this match, actually.
Hey, go check out, go search on Google. If you're watching this right now wondering what the hell you're actually seeing, search Ernesto Hoost, Ernesto Hoost versus Bob Sapp wrestling on Google, and you'll see what the hell we're talking about.
So yeah, let's talk about KOC2's gameplay. So, and is it when you say the grappling? Is it how similar is it to Fire Pro, which we talked about?
Actually, the only difference, it would only be similar in timing. They use a completely different system. When you grapple at Fire Pro is as soon as you two meet face up. In KOC 1 and 2, it's a clutch system. So you hold R1 and you can either press triangle, square, circle, or X, or X square or triangle circle.
Can you explain about the little dots below their name and what those represent?
This is the Powerball system. Now, the Powerball system didn't debut in Fire Pro. It actually debuted in an All Japan game that came out in 1999 for the PlayStation 1. Now, the Powerball system is in KOC 1 and 2, that would be for your finishers. So unlike in Fire Pro, where you could do your finisher. Unlike in Fire Pro, you could do your finisher whenever you want. And if you run out of Powerballs, you can't do that version of your finisher anymore.
Things also that I think that that I was reading about with KOC2 versus KOC1 is that they improved the audience. The audience is apparently is actually much more a factor in your matches, or can be a factor for the match ratings. Is that true?
Yeah, because there was no match ratings in KOC 1. In KOC 2, you have you could act, so depending on what crowd type you're using, that you could have a match rating. So let's say I use New Japan's crowd, right? And if I were using people from Noah or something, if I was not doing a style with New Japan, like when I was doing it with Noah, I would probably be getting less.
That's fascinating. So you could actually have an audience. So the audience is the way they respond to your match is based on how you. It's really fascinating.
Yeah. So you had a New Japan type, you had a Noah type, All Japan type, WJ, World Japan. You had MMA, MMA just by itself, and wrestling just by itself. So wrestling would encompass all of them.
Okay.
So it's not like crowd specific.
Gotcha. Okay. So does KOC2 have the crazy types of matchups that Fire Pro does?
No.
The death matches, or is it kind of just a straight? It's kind of like a straight wrestling game.
It's a straight wrestling game. You got your singles, tag, 5-on-5, fatal 4-way, triple threat. You got one with if you want managers with you.
Now, if you're doing the MMA matches, I'll try to find an MMA match on your YouTube channel.
I got plenty of them.
JMFactor is the YouTube channel to see these sims. So is the mechanics different? Do you have to? Is it kind of do you have to? I guess gameplay it differently than
no. What? Yeah. Well, here's the thing. For every wrestler in the game, not everybody's grapple clutches are the same. For MMA fighters, they have a clutch system. The only one that does not change. R1 and triangle. That's the only one that does not change because that's the only button that accesses Irish whips. So for the clutches, you have, your back mount, you have your guard for all the MMA nuts. So, but for MMA one, here's the difference. If you do a submission from the MMA clutch, the match is instantly over. If you have your opponent weak enough and you do a submission, you will literally hear the bone break. You'll hear a bone snap, and they are tapping. If you beat them up with mount punches, with different types of like mount punches or shotes, they will tap when they have taken enough damage. Though if they're way too fresh when you're doing a submission, the opponent will break out of it.
Yeah, so let's actually continue talking about the gameplay modes for KOC2 and what just you said they have singles, MMA.
Yeah, there's also okay, so if you're doing one-on-one, we also have rule sets. So we actually have different rule sets. We have like Ultimate Crush. Luckily I have the fact you here to help me remember certain things here. Give me a sec here. Because what, you really think I was gonna boot the game up? Because the game is not going to explain that. Oh yeah, I forgot to add. We also have elimination handicap as well. Okay, let me go. Almost there.
But no tag team, right?
No, we got tags.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Need to remember.
All right. So we have pro wrestling as a rule set. We have Vale Tudo. So you want to do like some MMA. So we got some Vale Tudo rules. We got Ultimate Crush, which is them kind of like acting like they're in the UFC. You got U Style if you want to do some UWFI rules matches. Now the only two I don't know about are America and American Style, which is probably like American Style and Fire Pro, and Muga. I'm not sure what Muga is because I know that Tatsumi Fujinami was running a promotion called Muga at the time.
I spell that Muga. Is that MUGA?
Yeah, MUGA.
Okay.
Like I'm thinking maybe like submissions and roll-ups are a lot stronger in this mode in that rule set, I think.
Okay.
It's a more like, it's more like grapple technical style match.
I'm gonna ask one of my Japanese friends if he knows what he knows about Muga.
Yeah. Because I know that Fujinami was running a promotion called this at the time. And I know that Danielson and them were a part of it. They were doing like moves that would not work in that promotion. The cool thing is in part 1 and 2, there's actually a match rules called free, so you can actually make your own rules. You'd actually like combine like certain.
Oh, Muga was tradition.
Oh, tradition.
Yeah. According to it's Muga was they all I guess it went by both names, but I'm seeing here that it says here, let's see, tradition until 2008 was known as Muga Pro. So it went from I think so it went from Muga to tradition.
Okay.
So yeah, probably by the time this game came out, or it was known as it was at Muga, and then I don't know. So that's probably why. I'm sorry, but Joseph, go ahead.
All right, yeah. So they had free, so you could actually mix and match different rules. So you could have a pro wrestling match with UWF rules.
Well, that sounds like a recipe for disaster.
I actually did that. No, if you look up my earlier videos, I actually did that before.
I see. Either that or a pro wrestling match with MMA rules.
Well, yeah, because you can turn on TKO, because TKOs are only with the MMA rules.
Oh, okay. I mean, that's quite understandable. I mean, I thought you.
Yeah, or you could go all shoot fighting rules and put like rounds in your pro wrestling match.
Yes,
like the old European rules.
Like World of Sport, basically.
Yeah, or when Impact tried to attempt this with the Grand Championship.
Oh God, don't even get us started about that. But since you run a particular hobby promotion like that, maybe you should probably do more of those types of rules for your matches.
Maybe. We also have 2 out of 3 falls, so you can actually choose it from 1 fall fit the match to 2 out of 3 falls. There was also a judgment system. This was for your MMA fights, for your MMA rules. So judgment system for matches that end without a decisive victor. This is only for free rule sets and for Vale Tudo. Or you could do TKO points. So if you're doing it with U style rules, you would have TKO points. If anybody got knocked out, it would be like you could lose like 5, 10, or 15. You had the blue corner counts and all that. Speed, and then the ring types. So here were the secret ring types that you could unlock. So you could unlock the retro All Japan rings. You could unlock Pride, K1, Wrestle One, Deep, FMW or Indie, the Heisei era, UWFI ring. Remember, these rings are not called what they are in the game. Like they're called they're called a completely different name.
Mostly because of copyrights and all that.
Yeah. So like K1 would be S1, Deep would be called Dark.
And I remember they would have similar style logos too, especially the Deep Dark one.
Yeah, Pride would be Blade.
Mm-hmm.
Can you talk about, Joseph, the survival road? That's the equivalent. That's KOC's story mode.
Well, it's not really a story mode. It's mainly like a gauntlet-like mode.
Okay.
It's more of a gauntlet-like mode. I remember one time doing the MMA survival road, right? So here I am playing as my custom character. And you want to know who comes out to whoop my ass?
Who?
Mike Tyson.
Oh God.
Yeah, because like even the characters who are template characters, they come out in that mode too. So I fought a friggin' Mike Tyson. He knocked me out in 5 seconds.
Damn, that's probably the quickest paycheck he would have ever earned in his life if he would have done that for real.
Yeah, remember around this time there were like the Mike Tyson Tokyo fights for him and Bob Sapp for K1.
Mm-hmm. I remember that there was supposed to have been one that happened in Hawaii or China.
Yeah, so Mike Tyson came and beat me up, and like I said, like survival.
So sorry, Joseph. I just want to let you know. So Muga. So apparently this is what Muga. It's classic Ricky Dozan era rules.
So okay, so that's like JWA IWE.
Yes. So yeah, whatever.
That'd be that Jim Cornette wrestling. Got to slap on that headlock for 5 minutes. Let me put on this wrist lock let me lock in this wrist lock, and you don't do anything for 10 minutes.
Yeah, let me bore the entire fucking audience into watching this.
Well, the modern audience.
Yes, exactly.
Slap on that wrist hole.
Yeah, that would make for some great TV, pal. Slap on a fucking wrist hold and bore the shit out the audience for 10 minutes.
I'm sorry to all the old school wrestling people. I'm sorry. I do like old school wrestling. I'm just joking around here.
Yeah, we all are. But please continue.
Okay. So, one thing I want to talk about also there, like, we actually have actual venues here. Like, they're not renamed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so talk about that, please.
All right, so some of these carry over from part 1 as well. So here's what we got. We got New Japan's version of the Tokyo Dome along with the regular one. We got the Nippon Budokan versions of Noah, All Japan, and by itself. We got Tokyo Sumo Hall, Ocean Harbor, Kurikan Hall, Pro Wrestling Noah's Differ Ariake. So I guess we also have Yoyogi Gymnasium and Kawasaki Stadium.
Mm-hmm. And to be honest, if I remember correctly, isn't that a baseball and soccer stadium?
Yeah, Kawasaki was where FMW did a lot of their super mega shows.
I think didn't it also FMW. Yeah, FMW. That was the big outdoor arena, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Okay. So wait, so can you do an outdoor show in this game?
The only outdoor arena is Kawasaki. It's Kawasaki Stadium and the Tokyo Dome.
I'm curious to know, does the weather change at all during the game? Can it like ever just start like randomly raining or
No.
that'd be
like there's no weather. Kawasaki Stadium and Tokyo Dome happen at night.
Oh, okay, gotcha. That'd be cool though if there was some sort of like weather mechanic for
because let's say you don't choose to put a ramp in the Tokyo Dome and for the Tokyo Dome, you're actually walking from the field to the ring.
Okay,
Hmm.
gotcha. A lot of people don't seem to realize that the Tokyo Dome isn't a baseball stadium first and foremost. Like it's technically outdoors. It just happens to have a dome inside of it,
Yeah.
covering it. So yeah, that's the funny thing is that it may not seem like it, but it is technically an
Yeah.
outdoor arena.
There's also an option to for ramps as
I
to turn the
mean,
ramps off.
I
Like certain arenas
technically,
have elevated ramps.
technically, Andrew, the Tokyo Dome is a multi-purpose stadium, but you are right about the whole roof thing. Same with the Carrier Dome in Syracuse.
So a big question, Joseph. King Colosseum 2, or actually yeah, King Colosseum 1. Do we get entrance musics for our wrestlers, or those unfortunately much due to much more stricter copyright not included in the games?
No, there are entrance musics in both games. Some people have their actual themes while some don't.
Who has their themes and who doesn't?
Well, the people who have their themes would be like all the major players.
Okay.
So Hashimoto, Chono, they would all have like their actual themes.
Mhm.
Some people would probably have maybe like sound alike versions.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Especially
yeah, Joe would have his zero would have like a bad medicine a version of like a sounded like a bad medicine in KOC2, which was what he was theme was at the time.
I thought
So
that was Dr. Wagner that came out to Bad Medicine. I didn't know Samoa Joe came out to that.
Yeah, Low Key, who makes his 3D wrestling game debut in KOC2. He's coming out to a sound like version of Born in China, that one song from the Mortal Kombat soundtrack from the movie.
mhm.
Mm-hmm.
Just to name a few off my head.
does does it's gonna sound like a dumb question, but does Loki does he have the ability to go off script and shoot on his opponents in the game?
No, no.
Yeah, actually, no.
I think this is before. I think this is before all that.
Okay,
Long
gosh.
before.
This is
The dude
way.
was
This is
still,
like way before that. I think
yeah,
he was like he wasn't starting doing that yet.
the
Okay, and
dude
I know
was still wet behind the ears, so to speak. I
Yeah,
mean, even though he was wise beyond his years, then he was still wet behind the ears in some spots. In
and
his
imagine
own
trying to do that in Shinya Hashimoto's promotion.
uh,
shit. If Shinya Hashimoto was still alive, low key wouldn't be speaking right now.
well, as you can see, I do have the KOC2 PlayStation 2 cover on the back of my background. Unfortunately, two of the four wrestlers on that poster are no longer with us. Mitsuhara Misawa and Shinya Hashimoto, but we still got Muto still wrestling, and
And
Obviously, we got
Shoto, who
Killer.
is happily retired,
just
Mhm.
slapping people on
running his YouTube channel,
and
making money.
and slapping people on Gaki no Sakai. So he's happy. Isn't it so funny that Muto, out of all these guys, the guy who's probably has been injured the most, who's had the most surgeries, is like, I can't believe that he's still wrestling. Like I at this point, Muto and Muta, I should say, are both still wrestling.
Yeah. Now now there actually are new roster additions in KOC2. So a lot of people, a lot of like foreigners were not around at this point.
Mhm.
We have some fresh blood in here. New young boys are in here. So now Fumi Yamamoto, he's in here, the young boy version of Yoshitatsu.
Yes, now Fumi Yamamoto.
Yep, of who's now with All Japan, terrorizing them with the TV over the TV title.
He just did a mixed match or some type of weird
What does Yoshitatsu know about mixed matches?
I forgot who he did it with, but it was at one of New Japan, not New Japan, All Japan's shows. I think it was maybe Odo Ward, and it was they did like a you know what they were trying to do? They were trying to emulate Inoki Ali.
Oh my god!
Oh God,
It's like a
why?
pro wrestling match.
How? Who's the boxer?
So I forgot the name of the guy that he fought, who was the boxer, but apparently he was like a legit boxer. But Yoshitatsu he wasn't wearing knee pads. He was just wearing, the black trunks, and like he was doing the Inoki,
Was he just on the ground kicking? Did the
Yeah.
boxer like just stand there and not
Here-
jump
but
on top and beat him up?
Here's a weird thing as well. they did the exact same match in 2019. So this is like, it wasn't like a pro wrestling match, or this time was they literally, it's the same rules, same match that they did in 2019 for All Japan. It's see, that's the thing, is that All Japan now is like a straight laced promotion, but then they'll do these random ass weird matches for no reason, like like they just pop up out of nowhere. And it's like, it totally catches me off guard. But yeah.
All right, so
it's a fucking wonder that the company with 3 different Exoduses tied to their name is still fucking alive doing this shit.
Yeah, and they're an indie now too.
Are you serious? Like,
they're either a regional or an indie now.
I would put them at a regional due to the pandemic. They have not, I don't know if they've traveled anywhere outside Tokyo at this point. I think they've done all their shows at Kurikan, Oda Ward, Shinjuku Face. So they are, if I'm correct, they might that would call them, I'll put them at a regional in that case.
Yeah. So for New Japan, right, the only new roster additions, right, because a lot of people did leave, so we don't have, Dan Devine, Super J, Dr. Wagner. He's a template now. He wasn't with the company around this time. So we have the 3D wrestling debuts of Hiroshi Tanahashi. No, he was in there. My bad. No, he was. Shinsuke Nakamura. We have the 3D debut of Josh Barnett.
Yay!
Because if you remember, he wrestled Yuji Nagata around this time.
I seen some of your sims that have had Josh Barnett in them. I think you've done Josh Barnett, right?
Yeah. I've done, like, I did Josh Barnett versus Scott Norton. I've done Josh Barnett versus. Yeah, I've used Josh Barnett a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And Mike, and there were a few switches. So Mike Barton is now with New Japan now.
Mm-hmm.
Now we have the Makai Club, the Inoki religious stable. The stable that worship Inoki like a god.
Mm-hmm.
The last dawns of Inokiism.
Yes. So we got Makai 1, Makai 2, Ryushi Yanigasawa, Mitsuya Nagai, who was not with All Japan around this time, Katsuyori Shibata, he was Makai number 4, and the 3D wrestling debut of Kazunari Murakami.
Mm-hmm. The White Wolf, the last dawn of Inokiism.
The terrorist of Heisei.
Right.
Or as Pride Resurrection called, hey, remember that piece of shit who was in Pride 1?
Yes.
And the manager, Kentaro Hoshino. For Crazy Dogs, the only new roster addition here would be Hiro Saito. And Michi and guys who were in part 1 were not freelance. For juniors, we got some more people here. We have the 3D debuts of Ryusuke Taguchi and Hiroki Goto when they were Young Lions.
Mm-hmm.
Katsushi Takamura, Wataru Inoue, Geto Jado, Kakihara, Naruse, Minoru Tanaka, Akira, Koji Kanemoto, El Samurai, Jushin Liger. Not a lot of not a lot. So there were some.
Was this if this is Liger? Was this heel Liger at the time? Was this Black Liger?
No, he wasn't. He didn't do CTU yet.
Okay, gotcha.
He was still face around this time.
Okay, gotcha.
He would start CTU a little bit later.
Okay.
Yeah, by the time Wrestle Kingdom 1 and 2 happened, he's running CTU.
Gotcha. And just for anybody that doesn't know, that means Controlled Terrorism Unit. Yes. The coolest name for a faction ever.
Yeah. Let's see. Not a lot of changes in Noah. Let's see. There looks like there were a few roster shakeups. Yeah. So nobody new in Noah, as I'm looking right now.
Mm-hmm.
All right. For All Japan, we actually do have some new additions. We have John Tenta.
Mm-hmm. Earthquake.
Yes, because you want to know why? Because do you remember when Kojima was the MLW World Champion?
Mm-hmm.
Remember when he was like doing stuff with so this was back when they were also doing stuff with MLW.
Mm-hmm.
Because now
repeat yourself again, Joseph. You kind of broke up there.
Hold on. Like, can you guys still hear me?
Yep, we
can
hear you.
I can still hear you.
All right, so so my mic's back again.
Okay.
Sorry, you were saying about MLW and Kojima.
So they were doing stuff with MLW around this time because John Tenta was with MLW.
I kind of forget.
Yeah, and here's the one: ROD. All Japan has a new heel stable here. ROD. A few of these guys were in NWA TNA around this time.
And by the way, just to clarify, ROD means roughly obsess and destroy.
Yeah, Taka was also a part of this, but he's a template in this game. But Taka has an ROD theme in this as well. So here's who's in it. So Taiyo Keiyo is the leader. You had Jamal from 3 Minute Warning.
May he rest in peace.
Yeah, D-Lo Brown.
Mm-hmm.
That's right, D-Lo Brown. Bull Buchanan, who was just Buchanan.
But he was fresh off of the B Square gimmick in WWE.
Was this when Muto was taking over All Japan and kind of
yeah.
Yes, okay, because if I was like if all these weird ass foreigners are in All Japan, that's definitely a Muto thing that he loves to do is book foreigners that make no sense for his promotion.
Well, yeah, and there were a few and he remember, don't forget, he was running All Japan when KOC during around that 2002 time. But remember, Super Dragon was in All Japan, for God's sake.
Wow. The California indie legend.
Yeah. So we have the Gladiator, Mike Awesome. And Gigantes. That's the Wall, brother. Or as you know him as Malice in NWA TNA.
May both Mike Awesome and the Wall rest in peace, by the way.
Yep. This was also the 3D debut for Taichi. Back when he was Kawada's young boy.
Oh, okay.
Did he go by Taichi Ishikari in the game?
Yeah, he's going by Taichi Ishikari. He's going by his full name.
Okay.
Nowadays, he's just going by just his first name.
Of course.
So I'm curious to know: is there like a how like all the wrestling games have like and MMA games like different people have like different, I guess, levels, like 89 or numbers or anything like that? Is there anything like this game, or is it balanced?
It would be like how Fire Pro would be in terms of like what points they are.
Okay.
Though that really wouldn't matter. It's mainly the logic that matters. Because I've had a Naofumi Yamamoto, a young boy, beat Blue Wolf.
I was gonna say because I was wondering if the young boys in the games
they're weaker, yeah.
Yeah, they're weaker.
Of course, they're weaker because when you go into being a young boy or a young lion, your talent automatically gets diluted to beginner status.
Yeah, though I did see Naofumi Yamamoto beat Blue Wolf. This actually happened in a stream once.
Well, how long did that take for?
It lasted 25 minutes. He went 25 minutes with a young boy.
And it's funny because we all know Blue Wolf is a former Olympic level wrestler, and we all know that shit would not happen in real life.
I'm curious to know as well. So for the audience rating for your match is, a lot of times like the way you can prolong or get a great rating is to prolong the match the longer it goes, or is there some sort of way to get a great rating for a match, like 4 or 5 stars or whatever?
Well, you mean 100?
Oh, 100, yeah.
Let's see. Well, you have to do this as if you were doing a wrestling match, an actual wrestling match.
Okay, so you have to. It's
like like you can't be doing this match completely one-sided.
So it's kind of like how Fire Pro does the whole thing, where you kind of have to kind of actually like make it wrestle it like a pro. So like small moves at the beginning,
medium, work your way to medium, work your way to big. Maybe have a few dramatic kickouts.
Set up the signature move and then the finishing move type thing.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Gotta work your way to that. Let's see. Actually, there were a few. We have Jun Kasai makes his 3D debut in 01.
Back when he had all his teeth in his mouth.
Yeah, yes. Kazuhiko Ogasawa, he was new around this time. For let's see, Shinjiro is the only representative of his faction around this time. And 01 World, that's right, 01 USA is introduced here. Some guys from Part 1 are here. But the new additions to 01 World are King Adamo.
Who?
I forgot what he was called, but he was in Hustle.
Oh, okay.
But he was in Hustle as well. But he was called King Adamo in 01 World. Low Key, his debut, and the debut of, and I have no idea who this guy is, Vansack Acid. I have wondered, who is he?
How do you spell the name?
VANSACK
Uh-huh.
Acid.
Vansack Acid.
I have never figured out who this guy is.
Is he a masked wrestler or
No. He's not wearing a mask.
He seems to be also known. He also has a name. He goes by the name Shaolin Punk.
Must have been an indie guy, I
And
guess.
he's an American. He only He didn't wrestle for, actually no. It says here he wrestled for like quite a while, 2003 to 2015.
So he probably must have wrestled either in the Midwest or in you guys' territory in the Northeast.
Surprised Ring of Honor never picked him up.
Hey, you'd be surprised how many indie talents from y'all's neck of the woods that Ring of Honor never even said yes to.
All right.
You'd be really surprised.
Yep. Then Ricky Choshi's promotion, World Japan, aka Ricky Pro.
Mm-hmm.
You got let's see, the only new additions are Takashi Uwano, Koichi Kimura, and a very young Stone Pit Bull before he was Stone Pit Bull.
Tomohiro Ishii.
Yes, a very young Tomohiro Ishii around this time.
Even when he was young, he still did not look young. He'll forever be old or look adult, I guess you could say.
Yeah. Let's see, for freelance, let's see, a few guys here. Takao Omori was a freelance guy. Kensuke was freelance around this time, which is why he was doing stuff with Noah. But a new roster addition would be Katsuhiko Nakajima, who's with Noah now.
Mm-hmm. Actually, I mean, AKA Yuji Nagata's little brother, who was an Olympic level wrestler.
So then at the time this game came out, he must have been like 17 or 16 or 18 even, maybe. Probably a teenager. So
Yep, teenager.
Yeah, we also have you could also select your own referee. You can't make a referee like you could in Fire Pro.
So does it have like red shoes?
Yeah, red shoes, Masao Tayama, Ryuichi Nishinaga, Mighty Inoue, Kyohei Wada, Abe Shinsuke, Tiger Hattori, who was the ref for World Japan at the time, Norio Honaga, and Yamamoto Kotetsu.
Does it have the MMA referees or just the pro wrestling referees?
Nah, I don't think we have a Yuji Shimada.
Does the audience when Yohei Wada is doing the match, do they chant Yohei right after the introduction?
Yes.
Ah, great. That's always good.
Yeah, Kyohei Wada. They say his name. They say his name if you select him.
Okay, that's great. That's good. So tell us. So what is it that you prefer about KOC 2 over KOC 1 overall?
2, because the edit mode is a lot easier because you can actually, when you're making like the actual templates.
Yeah.
Because the one thing, because I never made anybody in green with my time with green, because they didn't have, because let's say I wanted to make like a wrestler who was there before, right?
Mm-hmm.
They didn't have the option to import to just load a template up and load their moves and their logic up.
Mm-hmm.
But they do that here in KOC 2. So let's say I wanted to make a template of Hayabusa, right? Uh-huh. In green, I would have had to make him completely from scratch. With importing, just pressing the triangle and just loading up the template in each category, it makes my work a lot easier.
Okay, I see. So actually, yeah, about the creator mode. So obviously, we talked Fire Pro Wrestling World, which might be the most in-depth create a wrestler mode, probably, or edit mode,
which will probably forever will be the most in depth for right now.
other than like a TEW type thing or anything like that. Like beyond that. But yeah, the Fire Pro Wrestling World returns is currently like the Fire Pro World, excuse me, is the king of all edits. But with this, can you create characters and import them, or is it? Or you can't just, is that impossible because you know it's the PS2 and just like was
No, you
released?
can create people in this game.
No, but like, can you import? Is there a way to import characters? Like, can somebody put a character? I don't know, like if it's possible, like on a memory card, and then you can upload that character to your to your game.
No, you couldn't do that.
Okay. Has the game been localized unofficially?
There was somebody working on. There was years ago somebody working on an English translation project, but then they went off the grid.
It probably maybe became way too much for them. And it seems like there's a lot to this game that you'd have to localize. I don't even know.
I mean,
Maybe
hell, there was an English translation project going on for Super Fire Pro Wrestling right now.
that's still going on. I think. Yeah.
Yeah, it is because he's going through all the arcs for all the different stories because there are branching stories.
I know that this game has that KOC2 has commentary as well. Can you change the commentators, or is it just the same people?
No, you can actually change the commentators. Actually,
Who's available for commentary in the game?
all right, hold on a minute. Because believe it or not, this is actually in the exhibition screen. Actually, give me a sec here.
While you're looking that up, I'm gonna find another one of your KOC2s to play in the background.
No, I'm actually I'm on the fact you getting to there. Okay, here we go. So for the play-by-play guy, he's default, right? But the color commentator could be Kazuo Yamazaki or Mitsuo Momoda.
Oh, that's a New Japan guy, right? No, I'm sorry,
Yeah,
not the New. Yeah, that was a New Japan guy, right?
Kazuo New Japan guy, Mitsuo Noah guy.
Okay.
Play-by-play would be the same guy. In KOC red and green, Giant Baba was a color commentator.
Wow. That's crazy.
Giant Baba rose from his grave to do some color commentary.
I mean, I'm pretty sure they had a sound alike for Giant Baba.
I think they just used maybe his commentary from the All Japan game from '99.
Oh, damn.
Now, this is just me speculating. They just took some voice clips from Baba.
Oh, so they kind of did like a South Park thing when Isaac Hayes passed away.
Here's the thing. I'm not saying that happened. I'm just speculating.
Okay.
Shit.
Well,
so no one's saying what I'm saying about Baba is fact.
I think they did the same thing with the Godfather game from Marlon Brando. I think they took clips from the Godfather, if I remember correctly, and they used that in the actual thing, and may have used like a voice alike or a
sound
alike, yeah.
Now, obviously, we're seeing from the looks of things, Jun Akiyama versus Kenta Kobashi and U-File rules, right?
Oh no, Christian, this is Minoru Suzuki versus Boss Rutan.
Shit. I hope I don't get my head kicked in for that shit.
Oh yeah. I also did a Takada versus Akira Maeda match.
Actually, curious to know, Joseph. So since it has wrestlers like or people like Boss Rutan and Minoru Suzuki who kind of were, I think probably by this time Boss Rutan was pro wrestling. I think was he.
Boss Rutan did like a few New Japan matches, but he was mainly a commentator for Pride around this time.
Okay,
but he did, but he did wrestle. He did wrestle a few matches in New Japan. He did one with Minoru Tanaka. He did one with fuck, I was just thinking of him.
He did one with.
Come on, Gary. Gary, help me remember.
God damn it! Now I'm gonna need to search for myself.
No, wait.
But
right. Wait. I do remember now. Koji Kanemoto. He did one with Minoru Tanaka, and he had a match with Koji Kanemoto.
Right. And he complained about having ear trouble when it came down to wrestling, saying that was the hardest thing he ever had to deal with. But yeah, you're right. He wrestled Manabu Nakanishi, Hiroshi Tanahashi, Masayuki Naruse, Yuji Nagata, Osamu Nishimura, and Koji Kanemoto. But still, though, he was also obviously commentator for the English language commentary team for Pride FC alongside Stephen Quadras and later Mauro Ronaldo at the time.
So Joseph, just a question: what are these 10 numbers that are on the bottom
Oh,
of the
because I was
screen?
doing this with U style rules.
Okay. Oh, so that's like UWFI rules where you can where you if you grab the rope you lose whatever it
Yeah,
is.
rope escape. Yeah, you lose like whatever points you chose.
Okay, gotcha. Is it a thing where the person can, if they're just near the ropes, is it just counts rope break, or did they have you have to?
They literally it literally has to be the computer physically moving them to the ropes.
Okay, is there a button, a rope grab button, and then that
Nah,
counts?
nah, just touching the rope.
Okay, gotcha.
Just them moving to the rope, touching it, and then the announcer goes escape.
Okay,
Downs count as well.
so you can do Muda in like a UW files match, right? And like uh you can mix and match wrestlers, right? Like on the styles, right?
Yeah.
Does is the match ever are the matches ever interesting or good when you send them when it's like when you do like a mixed style or like put a wrestler who's like not usually doing this type of style
Well,
just
let's see. I did put like Yuji Nagata with Kira Maeda, and that was actually pretty interesting. I did sim that one though.
that was UWFI rules, right? You said
Yeah, it was actually pretty interesting because Nagata did fight back.
okay.
It wasn't a one-sided beatdown.
What did this game ever have? Did the either Coliseum games have an online component?
No, you
Okay,
cannot play KO. You cannot play them online unless you're
oh,
doing stuff with Parsec.
okay.
Unless you're playing with friends with Parsec.
Oh, it's too bad because it seems like these games would be ripe for great gameplay if they had the ability to play. If you had an ability to do like online stuff, just like I feel like it'd be like so cool.
Yeah, but remember, this was during early on in the PlayStation's life. Oh yeah, the match is over. No, wait, it's not. Minoru Suzuki did get critical, but he didn't tap.
Shit, we're actually doing live commentary over our match. I mean,
No, wait,
speaking
now,
of
never
which,
mind. Now he's knocked out.
shits.
Because even if
Speaking
you survive a critical, your
of,
spirit is drained completely. So if you were in a mixed rules fight, any move could knock you out at that point.
of course they can, because that's the reason why they're called critical. I mean, aside from that, we were doing. I thought we were doing live commentary for a second. I was almost about to call a Boston Crab a sharpshooter again.
Oh, actually, speaking of like of movesets, do the young boys have like only like 3 or 4 moves, like the Boston Crab and just like forearm strikes, or do they actually have like a varied moveset?
Well, it depends on what moves they were allowed to use around that time because, Taguchi and Goto were doing springboard drop kicks in their young boy life.
Mm-hmm.
And as you saw, in modern New Japan with certain young lions, later on, they were doing like springboard drop kicks and top rope drop kicks and stuff like that.
So their moveset wasn't completely limited.
Well, not around that time in their development.
So I guess the big question also about King of Colosseum, well, all of them, like I said, they aren't localized. They have not made it over to the United States. What is the way to get hold of these games?
Well, let's see. You could always do the emulator. You could emulator way. No, I don't really encourage that all the time. You could if you had a Japanese PS2 or an American one and you got Swap Magic, you could do the Swap Magic method. But also, these games are very rare. They're hard to buy. You know what I mean? And they're and Amazon and them are going to try to charge you an arm and a leg. I got lucky that that one copy I found on Amazon years ago only charged me $40.
I think I checked today. KOC2, the only copy that's available is for about $50, a little bit above $50.
That's a lot of hey man, at least it's not $300.
What would it be? Have to be unopened to be $300? I can't picture this
It would have
game.
to be unopened.
Okay, or like Silent Hill 4 rare or Haunting Ground rare. One of those
Or
Capcom.
Marvel versus Capcom 2: The Forbidden Treasure.
Oh
Hmm.
god, yeah, I remember reading about that one. That one's a
especially since that game is no longer in production anymore.
has now this game is also made by the same people who made Fire Pro Spike
Yeah,
now
yeah,
Spike Chunsoft.
yeah.
Have they like is there any interest in trying to do like a type of game like this or trying to like re
Oh man, they making Danganronpa money right now.
okay, oh yeah, Danganronpa is like is anime and a video game, right? It's kind of
Well,
it's
but more visual novel based.
visual novel, that's it.
Yeah, they
Also
they're making money from other things. Remember like pro wrestling was slowly on the downswing around this time.
I also have to
Yeah,
say
because MMA at the time was on the upswing. Well,
Yeah,
up until Pride ran into the Yakuza.
I think that also it'd be logistically impossible to coordinate just like all the likenesses, not to mention as well, New Japan is owned by a video game whatever company, Bushi Road. So
well, Bushiroad
they
does more than just that though. They the anime. They have an anime division. They do a lot of card games.
but I'm also just saying like there's if New Japan wants to make a game, they can I mean they're coming out of another mobile game this later this year, Strong Spirits. So
Strong spirits.
they could just make their own in-house.
Yeah,
And
and strong spirits. What I've seen is more FMV based.
yeah, it's like FMV RPG kind of, where like you can do critical hits. They'll yeah, it. I don't know if it's gonna work. It's an interesting concept. I don't know how if it will work correctly. I just I'm not a mobile game person. Just
But I
in
do want to
general.
at least try it though.
I tried the card game yesterday and I got so bored of it after 2 minutes. The collector card game.
No, no, not collection. Collection that's mainly like for like events and stuff like that. I'm
Oh
talking
yeah.
about for strong spirits.
Oh yes. No.
I
Yeah.
do want to at least I at least want to give strong spirits a try
I'll definitely give Strong Spirits a try. I
because
think
like the first one, despite people having issues with their very first mobile game, or the very first one they did, I actually did enjoy it. The rock paper scissors one, I did enjoy it for the time I played it.
oh yeah. I remember oh yeah the rock paper scissors one.
Because luckily I did get into the game around the time when they were giving people like bonus points and stuff like that, so I got some more powerful moves early on.
So where would you put KOC2 in the echelon of wrestling video games? JM.
I in the echelon, I would put it around uh around Fire Pro World in 2K19.
Okay.
I'm putting it around there.
So top 10.
Yeah, it would be in my top 10.
Okay. So you would put Fire Pro World 1. Was that 2K19? Is that WWE 2K19?
Yeah, the
Okay.
last good WWE 2K game that Ukes worked on.
Okay. I've lost track of all the WWE games. I can't remember. Like, was that the one that CM Punk is on the cover?
No, that's 13.
Okay.
He was on the cover of 13.
Okay. No, you want to put No Mercy on there
Yeah, No
for
Mercy. That
Revenge?
would be in. Well, VPW2 would be in my top 10.
Okay.
No Mercy
Because if
would be in there, but I was more of a VP.
because
I
if
was
it
more into
wasn't
VPW2.
because if it wasn't for VPW2, there would be no WWE, no Mercy, or even no WCW versus NWO Revenge.
Okay, that's a good point. That's a good point. What about as an MMA video game? And I've contended this that it's very hard to really make an MMA video game just because I don't think that MMA it's a
Well,
very hard thing to adapt. Like even the Pride video game is like not that good.
well,
It
well. Let me put it this way: the Pride games, the early UFC games, picture them as more as fighting games than MMA games.
yeah.
They'd be more fighting based. Now in terms of MMA, the only as games is doing MMA, it would have to be like Virtual Pro Wrestling 2 was doing it early, their version. You had KOC 1, KOC 2, and all the Fire Pros.
Mm-hmm.
And most of the Fire Pros that had gruesome fighting
Mm-hmm.
and had, and who were doing that stuff way before.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, because I think the problem with MMA games in general is that it's very hard to like it's really hard. I think personally the best pure MMA game, if you remember this one, it was the EA MMA sports game.
Oh yeah, I actually had that.
that came out like and like is impossible to find now. I think it's actually been removed from like digital stores and all that stuff. And
Yeah, we're erasing Strike Force from history.
yeah, and yeah, it had the Strike Force. It had I think I had Affliction at the time.
It
It
had Shark Force, I think a few fighters, or
Fedor,
actually half the
Fedor on the
roster.
Fedor on the cover.
Yeah,
um I think I was
Fedor and Couture on the well, actually, yeah, Fedor and Couture on the cover. It had fighters from Strike Force, Affliction, Dream, and many other entities.
I think that was also the game that put Randy Couture on the shit list for Dana White, which very I don't know, very weird grudge to have in my personal opinion, but
And
that
also, that was the only MMA game. EA MMA is the
mhm,
only MMA game to have rules from Europe, America, Europe, and Japan.
mhm.
Not
No,
to
no, yeah,
mention
they had Vale
Brazil.
two. They had that did Vale Tudo as well.
That's what I mean. Not to mention Brazil as well with the Vale Tudo rule set.
Yeah, not like UFC 4 where it's like we'll give you these round types
And when we were talking about the early UFC games, you obviously meant the ones that were on PlayStation, right? Like
like
the
PlayStation 2, and the Dreamcast.
okay,
Because I actually had the very first UFC game on the Dreamcast.
that well, they call it like UFC one, right? That's when they
No,
started.
it was just called Ultimate Fighting Championship,
Okay. I remember. I know I had one of them, or I rented
where
one of them.
UFC Man was a playable character and German Suplex was an actual, and pro wrestling was an actual style in the game. So you could actually do power bombs and German suplexes.
I like that UFC man.
Yeah, UFC Man was the last boss in Championship mode.
I'm looking at my video games right now for the PS3. I don't know if you remember this game that came out. Just a little bit of a tangent. You remember there was a Lucha Libre game that came out called Lucha Libre AAA
Yeah, I know
Heroes
what you.
Del
Yeah,
Ring.
Heroes Del Ring. Yeah, the licensed AAA game.
I actually bought that game, and I think it's a riot to play. I think it's terrible in such a unique but fun way.
Yeah, but if you wanted a game where the only wrestling game where you can play as Kenzo Suzuki, well, no, Kenzo Suzuki was in Day Reckoning too. If you wanted to play as Jack Evans, he's in that game.
Oh yes, oh yeah. Um,
But yeah, so actually, because there's actually a few templates here, MMA samples here, right, of
hmm,
people. Most of these guys are from Pride, Rings, Early Pancrase, K1. I
yeah,
actually want to go to because there's actually a who's who name in here. A
yeah,
lot
go
of them
ahead.
who are familiar to us. All right, you ready? Hidehiko Yoshida,
Mm-hmm.
Naoya Ogawa, because they have a wrestling version of him and an MMA version of him.
Mm-hmm.
Katsuhisa Fuji, Kazuyuki Fujita, a wrestling and MMA version. Akira Maeda, good old Nobuhiko Takada, the Hercule of MMA.
Yes.
And would that be the right description? He's Hercule.
Exactly.
Daijiro Matsui, Tsuyoshi Kosaka. They made a wrestling and MMA version of him. Hayato Mach Sakurai, Takahiro Murahama, MMA version of him. Mirko Krokop, Fedor
Mm-hmm.
Emelianenko,
Mm-hmm.
Antonio Nogueira, Vanderlei Silva, Heath Herring, Mark Coleman, Don Fry, as he was not wrestling around this time as much as he was. Gary Goodridge, Quinton Rampage Jackson, Ernesto Hoos, Jerome LeBanner, Mark Hunt, Peter Ertz, Mike Bernardo, Semi Schilt, Ken Shamrock, Mark Kerr, Dan Severn. We could do Ken Shamrock versus Dan Severn here.
Hmm.
You know something funny? They're in Fire Pro Wrestling D as well.
Wow. And when you mentioned Antonio Nogueira, is that Lil Nog?
Both brothers are in the game.
Oh, okay. So both Lil Nog and Big Nog are in the game. That's cool.
So
Yeah.
can you? So I know that it is a pro wrestling game, but can you? Is there like an MMA like
Yeah,
I
you
guess
choose the
tournaments?
what? Yeah, yeah. But they, like not like you would have to go into the tournament mode and change the rule sets around. Like you would have to go to free and change it and make it so it's MMA rules.
Okay, gotcha.
So you can do MMA tournaments.
Are there do the wrestlers have like, can you like unlock attire or like, I guess, clothes or wrestling gear, different wrestling gear? Can you have like,
Everybody had all the attires are available. But for certain people, like some people have alts, like some have like younger versions of themselves,
mm-hmm,
or like for example, Misawa has the Super Generation version, his '90s version,
mm-hmm.
and like some of the alts have different finishers.
Okay. So what would be an example of like a finisher or an alternate finisher?
Let's see. Let me try to think of a good example. This because different eras here.
Well, because I
So
was gonna say like somebody like Muta. I don't know. Like, is there an option to come out like
well,
he's
Great
in
Muda. Well,
finisher?
Great Muda for him is like a separate character.
Okay.
Like his younger version would be like for KJ Muto, his younger self would be an alternate,
Gotcha. Okay.
but the moonsault would still be his finish though.
Gotcha. Okay.
But yeah, like for example, Takayama, I think had an MMA version as an alternate.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So if you wanted to do like Fry Takayama MMA style, you could do that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So Boss Rutan, here's a familiar name for most guys who are familiar with old school pancrase. Jason DeLucia.
The Mad Dog, I think, who
Yeah.
also fought UFC.
Yeah, and also, who Boss Rutan did the liver shot on multiple times because he was cheating. Rickson Gracie. Boo, boo.
Or Hickson Gracie, as the Brazilians call him. But
No,
yeah.
no. Wait, no. You want to know who else here? Hoist Gracie, Renzo Gracie, Ryan Gracie. Boo.
The goddamn Gracies.
Yes, Volkan, Andre Kopylov, Gerard Gordeau, Dos Caras Jr. Remember that one Pride appearance where he got kicked in the head by Krokop?
Yes, I'm surprised he didn't get kicked in the head more often in life.
Alexander Carolyn is in here. Mike Tyson, Aki Bono, and Minoru Suzuki.
Yeah, of course. Can't forget old Minoru Suzuki, but you can't forget Volkan either.
Yeah.
I'm
The wrestler template one is actually very fascinating, Andrew.
Okay.
Like you wouldn't believe who's in here. We have wrestling versions of Heath Herring and Mark Coleman.
And it's fun because Heath Herring actually competed, I think, in either Hustle or Wrestle 1.
Yeah, the earliest versions
did that. I know that Mark Coleman obviously did pro wrestling, but I didn't know that Heath Herring did any pro wrestling.
Well, yeah. I think he was in one tag team match with Terry Funk.
Oh, okay. That's a totally random occurrence. that is like Fire Pro Wrestling random.
I'm actually surprised Kevin Randleman's wasn't a template in the game because he did stuff with 0-1 around this time.
Mm-hmm. And
actually, I also want to ask: is Kojima? Did you say Kojima? Because I don't think I heard you say Kojima's name at all for either game.
Yeah, he's in both. He was with All Japan around that time.
Okay, I don't know why. I thought
along with his great Muda persona, the Great Koji.
Okay, I don't know why I didn't hear you say Kojima. I was like, why would they have Kojima?
No, he was there. Him, Kendo Kashin when they
who's
left.
Who's not in the game though? Who's like not in the game that like should have been in the game?
Me, around the time of King of Colosseum Red, I'm surprised that Brian Johnston wasn't in because he was with New Japan around that time still.
Mm-hmm. UFC veteran.
Yeah, he was part of BAT.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to think of
he was because Dan Devine was in there, but Brian Johnston was not, and Brian Johnston was there since '99.
I'm trying to think of like off the top of my head who would be
Super J. He's not in. He's not in. He's not there anymore. Michael Modest and Mike Modest are Donovan Morgan. They're not there. They're templates now.
Who I'm trying to think of at this time who
Vader's not in. He was an omission because he wasn't. They made him a template because he wasn't with Noah around that time.
Okay, yeah. You said was Kobashi?
Yeah, no, Kobashi was still with Noah.
Okay.
Yeah, Kobashi, he wasn't omitted. Like I said earlier, a lot of people who are already carried over into 2, I didn't list them.
Okay. I'm trying to think of names that was Was was
Takayama, he was still there. He was freelance.
Was Taue wrestling at the time, or was he
Yeah,
retired by
he was
now?
with. Nah, he wasn't retired. He was with Noah still.
Okay,
And I think you mean Teiyu, Akira Teiyu, not Taue.
Well, no, the crowd is literally saying Taue in the audio.
Damn it.
Like they're cheering Taue when his theme
Oh,
plays.
actually, speaking of that, can the audience? Can you get the audience to like actually vocalize? Like, is there like
It,
a
it,
babyface heel thing or
um,
anything? Is that
actually, no. When you're selecting your music, right? When you're selecting your music, they'll have the regular version of that song. They'll have a version of a song where the audience is literally clapping along to it,
Mm-hmm.
okay?
or there are ones where the crowd will literally vocalize that wrestler's name.
Because you know how Fire Pro has that heel babyface kind of like dynamic that's kind of important if it's a heel versus babyface match. Is that I'm guessing I feel like King of Colosseum doesn't really have that because it's more sports based.
Yeah, they don't really do like the whole heel thing. Like there are heel moves, of course, but
What about
there isn't like a. But the crowd isn't booing.
for the American wrestling style or rules? Do you is that
I actually have never done that. Actually,
oh you haven't?
yeah, that's like the only one I didn't really mess with.
Okay. Is it just something that you're just more interested in the Pride and UFC? Oh, not UFC, but UWFI type rules matches.
Well, I could. Well, if I wanted, well, I could just do a regular wrestling match.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because I think for American rules, I think your finishers are more powerful and stuff like that.
Yeah. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, but even the guy who wrote the fact sheet, he doesn't even know what the American rules are. It's not really explained. You know what I mean?
Well, I would probably guess that probably you can. I don't know if there's like obviously so there'd be no 10, it would be a 10 count instead of 20. That's the biggest factor.
That's just speculation on my part. Maybe later on I'll maybe try it out and see. But I don't think there's a real difference because you could actually. I think when you're doing the ring out, because like the default ring out count is 20.
I also wonder like if you maybe have to do like more taunting or more posing or whatever the equivalent of maybe also wrestle the match differently.
Yeah, I don't know if I don't know if you're doing all that now.
I wonder if the match could be ended earlier, like on a schoolboy pin or a roll up or something.
Well, if you wanted that to happen, just have technical as your critical, and you'll crit with a roll up if you're lucky. I had a match in Fire Pro and 10 seconds in would be a roll up.
Who was that against? Oh, do you remember what the match was?
No, I think I did. I think I had it with Yano, but I can't remember if Yano had technical as a critical.
Well, here's the thing: Yano is the exception to the rule. You gotta know that, right? Listen, Yano can finish a match with a roll up because that is his specialty. That's the exception. That's not
the master of the roll up.
Yeah, exactly.
The most powerful move in WWE.
Listen, that's why they call him the Sublime Master Thief because he can steal the match at any time.
Yeah. You know that running. There was a running joke I told my my friend. You can throw 50 super kicks, but there's one move that no one will kick out of, barely. The roll up.
Hey, listen, I'll never forget the match that Yano had with
Shibata in 10 seconds.
Well, I was gonna say Hiroshi Tanahashi a few years ago. I think it was for the New Japan Cup, and yeah, he pinned him out of nowhere with a roll up, and maybe like in a minute, maybe two or 3 minutes.
Yeah, no, the Shibata one was more funny.
So I know this game, while it wasn't released in the United States, did you ever read the GameSpot review of it?
I think I have. Like, it did get good reviews. I do know that much.
It's very interesting in a game that, this is obviously when GameSpot was obviously.
Yeah, I know, like a few YouTube reviews. It's like the cult classic you can never play.
Yeah, it's one when GameSpot was actually a video game website. I don't know what it is now, but it's not a video game website anymore. When they actually would,
it's not my GameStop.
Yeah, it's
not my videogames.com from back in the 90s.
They would actually review like imported games. They would buy games from Japan and all that stuff and play them on the on their systems and all that stuff. But yeah, I actually remember I was reading the review and they actually they gave it like a very high score of 8.6 out of 10. Now I'm curious to know that they said that here's some of the bad. I want to know if you agree with any of it or if you see what how your thoughts on it. They said that some of the bad is create game modes can be somewhat restrictive in setup. Certain game modes can be somewhat restrictive in setup. Is that true?
Um, they probably didn't know about the free option.
I don't know if this game if they even know if the, I don't know if they had anybody who was Japanese or anything on the team to like translate.
Yeah,
Have you
because if you wanted to mix and match rules, you set the rule set to free, and you can mix and match the rules.
the next bad they say is bad sound effects, voice sampling, and music.
Well, I'm gonna have to disagree with the music because some guys have their actual songs in the game.
So when they say voice sampling, did they actually get some wrestlers to do some of their like I don't know grunts or
Well, let's see some of the voice sampling. Maybe it might just be the voice sampling because you're not gonna get the voice samplings of like that you had in KOC Green because you actually had like Vader going no. You know what I mean?
and they
But then again, it's just them grunting
mm-hmm.
when doing a move. You know what I mean?
And the last negative they say is some stiff, occasionally glitchy animation, which we saw that in some of the clips that we saw with viewers. Where characters, like they'll go for a grapple, but then the guy will like turn around or something, kind of miss. But I think I don't know. That's a
Yeah, but that might just be a result of the engine.
I think what do you know what engine they used? Was this the Fire
I
Pro engine?
Nah, this is not the Fire Pro engine. I think this is just an engine they made themselves. I
Oh,
wouldn't
okay.
know the name of the engine, but it might just be a result of the engine.
Let's see. Their conclusion of this game is oh, they said that the this game does not just does not sound good at all. It actually sounds a lot like a Fire Pro game. The music is about a step above MIDI quality. If you remember MIDI's kids, and the voice samples used for the wrestlers are just about as poorly compressed as you can get. Um, that sounds like probably like a game from early PS2 era where they were still using MIDI's and
Yeah,
voice.
because remember, this is like still early in the PlayStation 2's life cycle.
But they did come to the conclusion, GameSpot, that perhaps the most unfortunate thing of all about KOC 2 is that it hasn't a chance in hell of ever coming out in North America. It is strictly an import title, going for around $80 on nearly every import site we researched. Put in no terms, this is one of the easily one of the best pro wrestling games to come out of Japan since Aki's, AKAI's Virtual Pro Wrestling 2, and it finally delivers on Spike's promise of a 3D successor to Fire Pro franchise. So
Because remember that they were trying. Remember, Ubin was trying to do 3D way early in the Saturn, like in the Saturn's life cycle, and PS1 didn't really work out.
mm-hmm. Did any games come out for the Saturn? Any wrestling games come out for Saturn?
Yeah, like Fire Pro, Fire Pro. Two Fire Pros came out in the Saturn. There was like Blazing Storm, like the arcade one. There's an arcade one that came out in the Saturn, and Fire Pro S, a 6-man scramble.
And so yeah, so other than Amazon, is there anywhere like can you find this? Do you think this game can be found at like your local video game store and like the U shelves?
A 50-50 chance it will be in your local import shop.
Okay.
I remember one time I went to an import shop, J&L, years ago, and I found Wrestle Kingdom 2 by chance.
Wrestle Kingdom 2, and that was for PS2, right?
Yeah, PS2 in 2007.
Didn't a Wrestle Kingdom game come out or a New Japan come out for N64 or something? Also called like Wrestle Kingdom?
No, Tokon Road.
Okay, that's it, Tokon Road.
Yeah, part of Tokon Retsunan. Like two of them, Tokon Road 1 and 2 came out for the N64.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Have you this game also? I'm assuming it is 2 players, right? You can do
4 players actually.
Oh, it's 4 players. So you could do like
yeah. So if you have the multi-tab, you could do like Fatal 4-way and tag team.
Do tag team for MMA matches.
Now I don't know if I could do that. Maybe if I maybe not. Maybe if I had it on free, then I could do like a tag team shoot fight like they did in UWF5 back in the day.
Oh yeah. Oh, I was even gonna say that MMA matches, they've done tag team MMA matches now. That's now a thing. I can't remember if Rizin's done I know they did the grappling tag team matches, but I don't think they've ever done a tag team.
I don't think we'll ever see Rizin do a tag team MMA match.
It would be fascinating though.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
but it would also be something that, a promotion like Full Metal Dojo out of Thailand would do. I mean, think about it.
That's be a video game that comes
Yeah.
out soon. Is Full Metal Dojo Full
Yeah,
Metal Dojo.
but then again, you could put like two MMA fighters in a tag team and just do it in Fire Pro also.
Exactly, that you can.
Yeah, but in KOC 2, if I did tag and maybe if I could change the rule set to free, then maybe I could do like a UWFI tag team match.
You know what? That would be cool, man.
Yeah. So in the wrestling templates, right? Andrew, you're gonna be surprised by who would be in wrestling templates.
Okay.
There actually are a few people here who did wrestle in Japan around this time, around early 2000s. KOC 2
is for Fire Pro or this still
KOC 2.
Oh, okay.
All right, so here we go. We got Tiger Mask 4, who surprisingly was not in this. Michinoku Pro isn't an available stable in the game. Mm-hmm. Curry Man,
Christopher Daniels.
Yep. Juventud Guerrera, the Juice.
Mm-hmm.
Bison Smith of Pro Wrestling Noah fame.
Mm-hmm.
You're gonna unleash the Bicentennial Claw. Oh wait, here's a familiar name for people who watched Hustle: Matt Ghaffari. I'm pretty sure you remember Matt Ghaffari, Andrew.
Oh,
I recognize the name. It's been a while since
Olympic wrestler Matt Ghaffari, the guy who wrestled Naoya Ogawa on the first show.
No, he wrestled Goldberg on the first show. Ghaffari, I think, was second.
Yeah, I think Ghaffari was the one who competed against Naoya Ogawa on that ill-fated UFO show at the Tokyo Dome.
Yeah, Chronic, Brian Adams, and Brian Clark.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see, Wild Peasants. Here's a surprising one. Brock Lesnar. Now, I want you to remember, Brock Lesnar didn't join New Japan until 2005.
But you said he's a template.
He's a template, and this is in 2004.
Okay.
Maybe this was around when the Brock rumors were happening.
Mm-hmm. And wasn't Wild Pegasus, a.k.a., he who shall not be named, was also a template in that game?
Yes, he is. Gary Albright, People Power, Johnny Ace, Rick and Scott Steiner.
I have a question. Is Sakuraba in the game?
Yeah, he's in the game.
Okay, because I was looking at, I was gonna play another video, and I see that there's a thing with
if you look up my KOC Pride video, I have like Sakuraba versus fuck. I just said his name, a Ricks and Gracie fight match.
So with him, do you get a pro wrestling one and a MMA one?
I think it's just an MMA one.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, I don't think they have his wrestling one, because remember his wrestling. He wasn't really doing he was doing UWFI and stuff in the 90s.
Oh yeah, and Kingdom Ergits before going into
the failed Kingdom revival.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah, I said Steve Williams earlier. He's a template here. Terry Bam Bam Gordy.
Mm-hmm.
The Legion, the Road Warriors, Dynamite Kid, Ric Flair, Tiger Jeet Singh, Abdullah the Butcher, Dos Caras, Mil Mascaras, the Funks, Dory and Terry, get well soon Terry, Andre the Giant, Bruiser Brody, Stan Hansen, the Goldberg.
The three what?
No, I was about to say 3D debut. But I forgot. But I don't know if Here Comes the Pain came out around that time. Goldberg was in this game. It was a template.
Mm-hmm.
Hulk Hogan, brother.
Oh God! Don't fucking mention him.
Yep,
but
Yoshiaki.
I think it was also around the time. I mean, you mentioned Bill Goldberg.
Yeah, he wrestled. Now you remember he wrestled Naoya Ogawa on the first Hustle show.
Mm-hmm. And that was while he was still under a WWE contract as well. But also, they probably got his All Japan template from late 2002.
Yeah, because he did a few appearances for All Japan at the time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Yoshiaki Yatsu, Kenzo Suzuki was a template. Here's a familiar Pride name for you who does not have an MMA template. Masaki Satake.
Hmm.
Come on, you remember he came out to the Godzilla theme music?
Oh, okay. Early Pride days, right?
Yeah, we're talking about early Pride. Osamu Tachikari. Let's see, Karu Uno of UFC fame, Karu Uno.
Mm-hmm.
Katsumi Usada, Minoru Fujita, Dick Togo, Alexander Otsuka, the Diet Butcher.
Mm-hmm.
Back when he was with Battle Arts. Yuki Ishikawa, Yoji Anjo, Mr. 200.
Mm-hmm.
Fujiwara, Mikami, Heat, Ebisan, Masaki Mochizuki, Dragon Kid, Shima, Magnum Tokyo.
Hmm.
Yeah,
I remember Jinsei Shinzaki, right?
yeah, Grand Hamada, Taka, Grand Naniwa, Mr. Pogo, Tarzan Goto. So if you want to do an FMW reunion with a few people, there are a few FMW guys here. Tetsuya Kuroda, Kintaro Kanemura, Kodo Fuyuki, Hayabusa, Onita, the Great Kabuki, Tiger Mask 1, the original, when he was fat. Because he had a gun around that time.
I see.
Saruda and good old Inoki.
Oh yeah, good old Pelican Chin himself, as Muhammad Ali once said.
Yeah, so there are all the wrestling templates, Andrew. Kind of a who's who in there, huh? Andrew, I can't hear you.
Have you done any Joshi sims through KOC's
There are no Joshi wrestlers in KOC 2.
You can't even make a. You can't even make a. You can't. Can you create a Joshi character or like?
No, you cannot.
Uh
The only female head sample in the game is China's.
Really? Oh, okay. Oh, yeah. So this is when she was probably in New Japan. I'm guessing, right?
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
when she was touring with New Japan for a bit.
Okay. Oh, wow. That's it. Okay. Um.
But to be clear, you can make Shane Sewell and Justin McCarthy, right? I mean McCulley, right? In that game.
I don't know if you can.
Damn.
You're gonna have to get really creative with that one. Because when you're making characters in the create mode, you're using actual like parts of wrestlers from the game.
Including their face templates.
Yeah, like the faces and everything.
Right. So you're gonna have many fucked up looking attempts, but you're still gonna at least try to make that look like a regular character.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And so, how often do you do your sims with KOC2, Joseph?
I do a lot of them on Twitch. I do a lot of them on Twitch, and I upload them to YouTube. There are times where I'll do like a promotion specific one, and I'll put that straight to YouTube.
Oh yes, you done. I think you just did a New Japan one recently, right?
Yeah, I did like a Noah version on KOC Green, and I did a New Japan one recently.
Do you just randomize them, or do you go back and look at the card? Do you try to
I do
simulate
my
the
own
actual-
matches.
Okay, gotcha.
Like in a New Japan one, I did Scott Norton versus Josh Barnett for the NWF title.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That was actually a hell of a match. Like Josh Barnett was dominating, and then Scott Norton killed him.
Wow. And of course, for many people that don't know, I think the NWF title is part of the All Japan Triple Crown, right?
No, the NWF was like it would be like it was like the earliest of world titles for New Japan, because New Japan did not have its own world title at the time in the 80s. It's a way later.
Yeah, until 1988.
Yeah. And around that time, the NWF belt was brought back, and remember, Takayama was the first champion of the resurrected title.
Oh, okay.
Picture them as the best way maybe I can describe would be like picture never matches before the never open weight.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
And so, is there any so like to like what would you say if you wanted somebody to play this game like Who is it? Is it for wrestling fans? Is it just for pure fans? Who in this game would you say is best suited for?
It might be more for maybe the hardcore guys. Because even though there are a few wrestlers, maybe who from like 90s, like American guys from like 90s or stuff like that. Remember, there were a few that were not in the big company and that weren't in the Fed or WCW.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Like you had more of that in red and green. Like, if you saw friggin' like, you saw Vader, you'd be like, oh, I remember Vader, or I remember Too Cool Scorpio. Even though Scorpio is in this game too. Even though, Too Cool Scorpio isn't, it was still a part of Noah around this time. But it might be more for like the hardcore guys. Because remember, if casual people have a hard time with Fire Pro, what makes you think they're gonna have a easier time with this one?
Oh, you said, so this KOC2 is easier to I guess get used to.
Well, let's see. Let me put it this way: if you master the grappling system, if you master the grappling system in one in the first game, you're not really gonna have a challenge. You will still have a challenge in two.
Okay, I see.
The AI will still whoop your ass.
Because you also said that for different wrestlers, it sounds like the grappling is different for different wrestlers, also based on their style, right? I guess.
Yeah, because let's say because if the AI gets you in the ground, if they have like an MMA moveset, you're good luck trying to get out of the ground. They will keep you there. They will try their damnedest to keep you there.
So yeah, we're running a little on time now, JM. I just wanted to get your last minute thoughts on this game, KOC2. Yeah, also KOC Red and Green. Yeah, just tell us your overall thoughts on the games and what they mean to you.
To me, I'm like, it's a shame that these games never came out in the U.S. probably because of licensing, likeness rights, and stuff like that, and probably like whatever politics were going on around that time. But I feel that you definitely should find a way to play these, because they were kind of doing stuff that most of the U.S. wrestling games were not doing at the time.
Yeah, so yeah, and all if nobody can get their hands on them, or it's too expensive, what they can do? They can go to your channel to watch some Sims.
Yeah, you could follow you could follow my YouTube channel, and if your channel or my Twitch, JMFactor 1 is my Twitch. You can follow me there, and you can see most of the Sims I do. I sim a lot of wrestling games, and maybe occasionally I'll sim some K1.
And yeah, could you also just talk about C wrestling and your history?
I think what you're trying to say is,
Yeah.
Joseph, can you talk about Sports Entertainment Alternative, your league that you run? It's not C Wrestling, Andrew. It's Sports Entertainment Alternative.
Yeah, that is like that. Yeah, that is like my main series. It's an all women's league. It's a hybrid of like original characters from like gaming and anime. It's like my own like universe, my own like story universe. People actually die in this show, in this series. My characters who die in this series.
I can actually vouch for that.
Yeah, that is my main one.
A few of his characters die.
Yeah. For KOC, for King of Colosseum II, my main series is PWS, Pure Wrestling Spirit. So really, for a more like wrestling based league, that would be the one for you.
Mm-hmm. But obviously, we can go check out your YouTube channel. Just search JMFactor on there, and we'll be able to see your stuff, right?
Yes, you will see plenty of my content, because a lot of stuff from my Twitch channel I put on YouTube, so you can just stick to my YouTube channel if you wish.
Exactly. And when it comes down to commentating future shows, you got to get me back on there. I mean, even though my commentary is still shitty, you still gotta get me back on there, Joseph, and at least get Andrew back on there as well. I mean, get Andrew involved as well.
Yeah, maybe I can have you commentate a Takada match.
Yeah, that'd be a fun.
Maybe we can reenact Takada versus Keiji Muto.
So Oh, sorry, my computer is running low on battery. I thought I had it charged, but yeah. Also, you want to give out your social media as well, Joseph, where people can follow you and keep up to date with everything that you're doing.
Yeah, you can follow me on Twitter. Like JMFactor is my at SEA Wrestling is my Twitter. You can follow me there. I post a lot of a lot of my clips or links to most of the stuff with KOC and Fire Pro. Maybe I'll throw my point at something with Stardom or something like that. So you can follow me there. YouTube, you can follow me YouTube/ JMFactor.
And yeah, maybe you could also start doing some Ryzen through
If I
Fire
could,
Pro.
if I could find some Ryzen, if I could find people who made the majority of the Ryzen roster.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
If there was like a guy on the workshop who made a ton of Ryzen edits, I gladly would.
And just to let you, is this through Steam that you do the Fire Pro, or is it through PlayStation? I forgot.
I have both versions, but I primarily use the Steam version.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Okay, gotcha. So yeah, Chris, you want to give off the our signatures before we head out?
Yes. They can follow you on Twitter at abinja1 and check out all your stuff on MMAsucker.com. They can follow me on Twitter. I may provide some boring takes. I may, occasionally like some not suitable for work content. I may occasionally be just completely fucking weird. But you can follow me on Twitter at ChrisGary92 or check out Focus Fights at Focus_Fights, for more MMA content. You can follow the show handle at We Are Rizin Pod, WeAreRizinPod, all in one word. You can subscribe to the YouTube channel that you're watching this on. Hopefully, you're enjoying every second of this comments. Hopefully, you've enjoyed every second of this conversation we've had about this very, very, very limited edition professional wrestling video game. And you can check us out on Stitcher, SoundCloud, YouTube, Stitcher, SoundCloud, Apple Podcasts, Podbean, or wherever you get your podcast. And hopefully the next time we talk to you will be more MMA centric. But other than that, for Joseph Matos, for Andrew Benjamin, the Chillmeister Chris Gary signing off, reminding y'all to take care of each other and take care of others too. And remember, like the great Lenny Hart always likes to say, give me a second. I mean, you know what? I just hate doing this. I really do. Because it basically means that I have to try and end the show like this. Give me a second. God damn it. Yeah, that's a botch on me. You don't see me botch and fuck up that often. But yeah, like the great Lenny Hart always says. Hold on one second. Shit. God damn it.
Come on, Gary, it's your job to close the show.
Yes, I know, but I'm shitty at it. Like the great Lenny Hart always says.
There you go.
And just like that, after so many god awful attempts, we are done. Peace.